Practice problem number 4, chapter 23. This exercise is in regards to calculating direct materials price and quantity variances and direct labor rate and efficiency variances. And we have to indicate for each variance that's calculated whether the variance is favorable or unfavorable. So here in this exercise, or within this exercise, we have a couple of data here. So I'm going to put the first set of data here in brackets and label this as standard costs here. So standard cost per unit. And standard also means budgeted. So this is where we get our information to in regards to standard price and standard quantity. And then the second set of data here, this is our actual costs. It looks like the actual cost that's provided to us is in total for direct materials and direct labor. And so from here, we're just going to do a plug-in in the formulas that I've already included in this exercise or below the exercise. So I have the direct materials and direct labor variance formulas here. So let's start off with the price variance. So price variance is really just going to focus on just the price, and this is why I have the word price underlined in price variance or in the formula of price variance. So just going to do a plug-in. So actual price here is going to be taken from the actual cost section. Specifically, if I zoom in here, we're going to take the $2.95 per pound because we need the the actual price or actual cost per unit. So let me do a plug in here. And this is going to be $2.95 per pound. And this is going to be our actual price. And we're going to have to subtract it from our standard price. And our standard price is going to be up here in the standard cost per unit for direct materials of $3 per pound. That's our standard price. So we're going to multiply all of this by the actual quantity. And the actual quantity for, actual quantity is going to be 92,000 pounds. This is our actual quantity. So if we do the math, taking the actual price, subtract out the standard price, multiply by 92,000 pounds, that's going to give us 4,600. So $4,600. And now we have to determine whether it's a favorable or unfavorable variance. Well, if the actual price, so what actually cost the company, so if the actual cost is greater than the standard price or the standard cost, so what the company expected to pay, so if the actual cost is less than what they expected to pay, then this is going to be a $4,600 favorable variance. So I'm going to put the letter F right next to the amount, indicating that this is a favorable variance. Next, we have the quantity variance. So this one here just focuses on quantity, which is why I have the word quantity underlined. And I'm just going to do a plug-in, just like we did for the price variance. So actual quantity is going to come out to be 92,000 pounds. That's total pounds, so actual quantity. And we're going to subtract out the standard quantity. And you notice that when we go back up here to the scenario, it doesn't give us the standard quantity and the standard cost per unit data above the actual cost data. So we got to do a little bit of math in order for us to figure out what the standard quantity is. So we're going to take this 10 pounds here that's right next to direct materials under or within the standard cost per unit section. So we're going to take 10 pounds and we're going to multiply it by the units that were actually produced, which is 9,000. And that's going to give us 90,000 pounds. And this is going to be our standard quantity here. So I'm just going to bring over the 90,000 pounds. And this is our standard quantity. And I'm going to multiply it by our standard price. And the standard price, what we use in the price variance, is going to come out to be $3 per pound. $3 per pound. And that's our standard price. So I got to do the math here. So we take 92,000, subtract out 90,000. That's going to give us 2,000 multiplied by 3. That's going to give us $6,000. So $6,000 as the quantity variance. Now we have to determine whether this quantity variance is a positive variance or favorable variance, or a negative variance or unfavorable variance. Well, since the actual quantity that was used in production is more than what was budgeted for, which is our standard quantity, then this means that this variance of $6,000 is going to be an unfavorable variance, because what actually occurred was more in cost than what was expected for the company to produce. So that's the that variance is unfavorable. Now, if we take, because it looks like if I scroll over here, we're done with computing the direct materials variances. Now we have to figure out what the total direct material variances will be. And we have to also indicate whether it's an unfavorable or favorable variance by taking the price variance that was just calculated and also the quantity variance that was calculated. And we have to just pretty much subtract them from one another, since this is an unfavorable variance that's going against a favorable variance. So if we take 6,000, which is unfavorable, and then subtract from the $4,600 that's favorable, then that's going to give us, let's see, a variance of 1,400, and that's going to be unfavorable. So since 6,000 unfavorable is greater than $4,600, which is favorable, because that number is greater than 4,600, that's going to be 1,400, and it's going to be a unfavorable variance. And this is going to be our total direct material variances, or direct material variance. We're just combining them, that's it. Okay. Now moving on to direct labor. Same thing, we're going to be doing a plug-in. So we're now focused on the rate variance. And so just like I did up above in the direct material variances, I'm going to underline the word rate, and rate variance, and actual rate, and standard rate. This is just going to be a focus on the rate variances. Okay, so the actual rate for direct labor is going to be $12.05 per hour. We're only focused on per hour, not the total. So let me bring this over here. This is going to be $12.05 per, let's see, per hour. This is our actual rate. We're going to subtract it by the standard rate. And for direct labor, for standard, and that's going to be $12 per hour. And that's our standard rate. And we're going to multiply it by the actual rates, or Not actual rates, actual hours. Okay, the actual hours, let's see. So we have 18,800 hours. That's the actual hours. So we're going to bring that in and plug it into the formula. So 18,800 hours. And this is our actual hours. Now we just have to do the math. So 12.05 minus 12, that's going to give us 0.05 multiplied by 18,800 hours. That's going to give us $940. Okay, now the important part, we have to figure out whether this is a favorable or unfavorable variance. Well, since the actual rate, so this is, think of this as an employee's wage, what they make per hour. Since this is more, so the actual cost of the employee is more, or since the actual cost per hour is more than what was budgeted for, then this will be an unfavorable variance. What actually happened was more in cost than what was expected. Okay, lastly, we have the efficiency variance. So efficiency variance focuses on solely the hours. So I'm going to just highlight efficiency with hours. So that's the difference there. Efficiency focuses on hours. So it's no different than when you actually complete a task. The quicker you complete the task, and also, I want to say, the high quality of you completing that task, the better efficiency that is going to be, that is going to result in completing that task. So it's more efficient. So it's all about time. So you can take something that used to, you can actually complete a task that used to take 30 minutes, let's just say, and bring it all the way down to now it takes you 2 minutes to do the task, and you do it correctly, and it's probably better quality. You complete that task more efficiently than it was completed before. So just like this one, we're going to do a plug-in. Actual hours minus standard hours multiplied by standard rate. That's the efficiency variance. So actual hours, first let me change this. There we go. So actual hours is going to be 18,800 hours. What we actually used for rate variance. 18,800 hours. That's our actual hours. We got to subtract it by the standard hours. So let's see if they provide the standard hours to us, and they don't in total. So we're going to have to also complete or figure out what the standard hours is going to be. So we only focused on the hours. So if we take 2 hours, okay, that's direct labor here, 2 hours. That's in the standard cost per unit area. We take 2 hours and we multiply it by 9,000 units, because that's the number of units that were produced. We're going to get 18,000 hours. So it took 18,000 hours to produce 9,000 units. Okay. So that's going to be our standard hours. So I'm going to just do a plug-in. This is going to be 18,000 hours. And this is our standard hours. And we're going to multiply it by the standard rate. So a standard rate, scroll up here, is going to be $12 per hour for direct labor. $12 per hour. And this is our standard rate. Okay, now we just do the math. So 18, let me do this real quick. 18,800 subtracted by 18,000. That's going to give us 800 multiplied by 12. That's going to give us $9,600 as the variance. That's kind of a big variance. Now we have to figure out if this is going to be a positive or a negative variance, or favorable or unfavorable. Well, since the number of hours is more than what was expected, so the standard hours, this is going to be unfavorable as well. So more hours was actually used in production, so that is a cost than what was expected. Now the next thing is to combine these two together to get our total, total direct labor variance. So we're going to take in this case, $940 unfavorable variance plus $9,600 unfavorable variance. Well, since they are both unfavorable, we can just add them together, and that's going to come out to be, $10,540, and that's going to be, hopefully I did this correct. Yep, the math is correct. This is going to be an unfavorable variance in total, and this is going to be our total direct labor variance.